Manne. I've been doing martial arts. I did it multiple styles. I started at a young age. I started at 6. I'm now 67, so I've been training for 61 years. But the first sort of 10 years as a junior, and the quality of teaching wasn't that great, the actual instructors in the early days. So, you know, that was 1958. In those sort of times, martial arts was very rigid and very basic. And then my parents travelled to Africa to live, and over there was a lot of violence, so I started to do a Shotokan type of style of karate for a few years. Then we left and came back to Australia, and that's where I met Bob Jones. Bob Jones was open only for 3 months in the city, and that's when I started with Bob. And I've been with Bob for this year, it's 50 years of training with him. My main thing is karate, and what happens in martial arts is, like in the early days it took say 4 years to get you black, but they were training once or twice a week for an hour and a half. Well, Bob had a full-time karate club, and we're training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday mornings, and some of us trained on Sunday afternoons. So I managed to get my black belt in 20 months, but I did over, I reckon, about 6.5, nearly 7 years of training compared to the other 2 nights a week. We just compacted it more. In the middle of that, I started doing a lot of kendo, so I got my black belt in kendo. And then we started doing sword for 4th dan, so I did a lot of aikido. I did a lot of sword work. And I eventually got my black belt in that. Martial arts was evolving, and a lot of the movement, we started doing a bit of ninjutsu. So I got graded in ninjutsu. And Richard Norton, one of my teachers, travelled over to America and did some training over there, and he came back and taught us. And he came back, and Richard got involved with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because Richard's into movies, and on the movie sets, some of the Jiu-Jitsu guys were being stuntmen. So he started to train with them, and he came back and showed us Jiu-Jitsu, and we could see that if you went to the ground, you want to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So we started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then, you know, you just train, have fun, and before you know it, you know, I was training under Peter DeBean and under Ivan Redikic, and Ivan, I was rolling with him, just having fun, playing, and you get a bit of a competition going, and then you start to do all right, and all of a sudden you get graded your blue belt, and your purple belt, your brown belt, and I got rid of my black belt. I think it's just a challenge, and it's very addictive, you know, and the camaraderie with the mates, you know, yeah, a lot of that. Now, for instance, in our style, it takes 50 years to get your 9th dan, right? So I've had my 9th dan for a couple of years now. So there's some of the things I've sort of dabbled in, and a lot of them are still teaching. Having a bit of that warrior spirit and being loyal to your teacher, you can't abandon him either, and he won't abandon you. That whole camaraderie through our club is that strong. You get the guys who are battlers, who do extra work. I was a battler. You know, I wouldn't say I was an all-out natural. I sort of struggled at first, but I was just that determined. I just did more than everybody else, so I kept up. And all of a sudden, things start to fall into place like a jigsaw, and then, of course, it just starts to pick up momentum. So I think that the battlers are usually the best teachers. They're more patient, they understand people's problems. And then there's more to martial arts, because you're at the front as a teacher, then younger men look up to you, ask you questions about life, you know, and you don't want to give them the wrong answers, so you start doing a bit more research. And, you know, a lot of young guys have asked me different questions, and you want to make sure you give them the right answers, and if you haven't got the right answers, tell them where they can find the right answers. It's like a double-edged sword. It teaches an aggressive child to become calmer, and it teaches a calm child to stick up for itself, because it balances out. So having that confidence and not being scared, one of the biggest things I was said once that really made an impact was my wife. She joined up karate because of self-defense. She travelled overseas a bit, and she got attacked in America by a couple of guys. She went down the wrong laneway, and she started to scream, and then some American Marines ran in and helped her. And then they helped her back to sort of, you know, onto the right place, and she got a taxi and went home. And when she came back to Australia, she started looking at martial arts. And one of the first things she said under training under me, she says, "You don't realise," she said, "as a woman, that 50% of the population is a threat to you. He said, you've grown up with karate, so it doesn't mean you can win every fight, but you don't feel intimidated by people because you have some idea of fighting. And people who stand up for themselves, bullies avoid. They're looking for the guy who looks away. So they learn to stand up straighter, look you in the eye. You know, we always in class, we introduce one another, we shake strong hands, you say your name out loud, you're proud of who you are. So it's also confident building and character building. I get a lot of single mothers because young men and girls, they need like a male figure, and a lot of the karate instructors do that really well. I mean, we're parents ourselves, grandparents, and it just attracts a good type of person, and it brings the best out in people.
Plan to continue teaching and training martial arts?
I think probably to the day I die, as long as I can move. There's no age you need to stop as long as you keep active. I mean, it has to change. It can't be grounding and pounding and taking hits and things like that, and it becomes more art orientated. But the things I'm working on now, you know, being a softer way, you can do it any age. But soft is not weak. Soft sometimes is harder than strength because it has a relaxation and an extension through it. So yeah, I hope to be training as long as I can physically move.